Gender bias is actually, it's just an interesting subject actually. One of the reasons why we have gender bias at work is that we learn the gender stereotypes at a very young age. So it's been shown that children, babies of about 1.5 years, they're aware of what male and female roles are. Because we've acquired the stereotypes so early, they actually become part of us. And interestingly, with gender bias, it's not necessarily unconscious. A lot of my work is an unconscious bias, but some of the gender biases are not necessarily unconscious. We just don't describe them as bias. And because so many people accept that point of view, we don't even question that it's a bias. We just think that's a natural fact of life. That's part of the reason why gender bias is still so prevalent. Yeah, bias-free and inclusive workplaces is important because we make the most of the talent that we have in front of us. We're not judging people on their gender, on their ethnicity, on the colour of their skin, whether they're able-bodied or disabled, whether they're gay or straight. None of those factors. We're actually trying to judge a person on their true capabilities. And as soon as that happens, we're making the most of people's potential. And when that happens, you get a more productive organisation. In addition to that, the research on inclusion shows that where we genuinely value people's opinions and include them in what we're talking about. The research shows that 85% of people 85% of people who say they feel included are more engaged, more motivated and more productive. So actually it leads to some very direct consequences for organisations. And inclusive, of course, doesn't mean just being inclusive on the grounds of gender. It may be looking at somebody from a different department, or a different professional background, or a different age, or they work in a different location. I mean, inclusion actually means looking at all of these dimensions, not just the more obvious ones. The most important thing that organisations, all organisations, whether they're public, private or not-for-profit, the most important thing they can do is actually to recognise that they are biased. Whether they realise it or not, the organisation will be operating under bias, but also as individuals, we are all biased. So it's that recognition that this is about me. It's not about your biases. It's about my biases and the way I deal with them. That's the most important step that organisations can take. The other thing, once you start, if that's your starting point, then you can take some other actions then. We need to look at our processes. We need to make sure the way we treat our people is as fair as we can. The research shows actually, as soon as I start thinking that I'm being fair, right? So if you were to tell me, congratulations Binna, you're being very fair in your decision making, you were biased, you're now fair. If you tell me that, I am then more likely to end up biased again. As soon as I start relaxing about this and stop concentrating, then I'm more likely to end up making biased decisions, because it takes effort.